I'd like to start by welcoming everybody to this information session on Artsweek SHIFT². My name is Sue Ditta, and I'm the Executive Director of the Electric City Culture Council. And to my left in the gallery is Gabe Pollock, who is EC3's Program Coordinator, and he'll be playing a lead role in organizing Artsweek SHIFT². It's, you know what, it's really lovely to see so many people here tonight. We want to start out the evening by acknowledging that we are on the lands of Nogo-Jigwinong, located on Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewan nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaty First Nations. We are very grateful to be on these lands, which have been cared for by the traditional peoples for millennia, and we want to pledge ourselves to supporting them and continuing this practice and stewardship, and again, express our gratitude for being here. We're here tonight to talk about a new program that EC3 is launching tonight, Artsweek SHIFT². I'm going to run through a PowerPoint, which Gabe is going to manage, and we hope that you'll get additional information from what you've seen online, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Don't be shy. And if you feel shy to ask questions during the presentation, don't hesitate to call or write after. Gabe, do you have technical instructions you want to give people?
Yeah, just a few simple little things. First off, I think everyone's on mute right now. If you could stay on mute throughout the presentation, that would be great, just because that makes it a bit easier and less chaotic. Also, there'll be time just on structure. We're going to give a presentation and there'll be time for questions after that. If you could please type your questions into chat, we'll answer them from there. You can type them in at any time, and then we'll get to them at the end. If you've got something that you don't want to type in, you can also email me. I'll be monitoring the Artsweek email throughout this presentation. So that's info@artsweek, all one word, @gmail.com. If you send that an email, we'll get the questions there as well. Also, you may have noticed that I started recording. We are going to record this webinar, and then we'll make it available publicly after it's done. And we'll also make the 7:30 presentation available as well, though they're going to be relatively similar. So if you miss anything, then you can go back and check on that. That is all for me right now, so I'm just going to go to the presentation. And we did that. All right.
So we wanted to start out tonight by giving you a little bit of background on Artsweek and on this particular version of it. Some of you will be familiar with our traditional festival, which is normally 10 days long. It's a multidisciplinary extravaganza. It takes place all over the city. And I think the last year we did it, it's a biennial event. In 2018, we had 30 projects, 60 events, and we were able to present the work of more than 100 artists in every imaginable discipline. So typically that festival would have taken place again in September of 2020. We had to postpone it because of COVID-19, but we had a 2019 contribution to the festival, and we were able to negotiate with the city, that's where the money came from, to use it for anything we wanted, really. And we chose to keep money flowing to artists. That was really important to us, was to make sure money got out to artists this year. And there will be, if God's willing and the creek don't rise, another festival in 2021. So that will be, if everything goes well, the larger scale version that we're used to. But in the meantime, Artsweek SHIFT and Artsweek SHIFT² is what we've been able to do during the pandemic. We'll go forward with plans for Artsweek 2021 as soon as we can, but I wouldn't expect to hear from us about that until May sometime. So you'll have 2 opportunities in a short period of time to get funding for your work. The first part of Artsweek Shift were 2 curated programs. One was called Downtown by poet Justin Million. It had 2 components, a really large spoken word and poetry reading component that took place in different outdoor spaces in the city, and a storefront project, an exhibition of paintings by John Kleimenheg, who had been painting en plein air all over the city throughout the epidemic. And the second project, and one of the people here tonight was one of the central artists in that project, Sue Lilly, was Peterborough Postcode Tour. That was curated by Hannah Keating. It featured 3 different artists, Sue with her performance pieces, Bethany with her visual arts work, and Derek Newman Style with writing. It's still available online. If you go to the Instagram account for Peterborough Postcode Tour, you'll get to see it. It's a really absolutely fabulous project where these artists have tried to imagine and interpret a city that does not have the significant barriers to people with different kinds of disabilities as we face now. So that was the first part of Arts Week. And we're here tonight to talk about Artsweek Shift². I think, there we go. It has 2 components, and we're going to talk about component 1 first. So component 1, mini grants to professional artists, is what I think of as an old school arts awards grant. So the grant will be adjudicated based on the artist's previous body of work and their proposal to undertake a work plan or different activities that will advance their practice. And it can be almost anything: developing a new work, doing research, planning and preparation, editing, workshopping. It can be the development of a new project, anything that the artist thinks will advance their practice, including but not limited to the use of digital technologies. I think what's really important in this program is that artists make a case to the jury for needing time, because you'll be able to apply for subsistence or say that some of your $1,500 will be for subsistence. All of it can be, just to give yourself a fee, and materials to undertake something that they think is really important to the advancement of their project. While your proposal might have a public presentation of some sort, even either online or in person, it doesn't have to. It can just be to develop your practice. Angela, I see a question from you. How many grants are dispersed? How many people apply usually? We don't know how many grants will be dispersed because different people apply for different amounts of money. And this new one, Artsweek Shift, the first component, grants to individual artists, we've never done before. I will say, just to be fair and honest, it is a competition. There are always some projects that don't get funded, so you do have to take your application seriously. And we're really happy to work with you on your application so you have a good chance in front of the jury. Component 2 is a more traditional part of Artsweek funding. It's for public presentation projects, whether they're live and in person or online. So it's to cover production costs and presentation costs. Those grants are up to $3,000. It can be an individual artist who apply, an arts organization, a collective, a collaboration, and they're imagined or envisioned to be larger scale project in any artistic discipline. I think the idea of these projects will be very much like, and if you read the application form, it talks about it a little bit, projects that really shine a light on the creativity and innovation of local artists and on their use of the city as a platform for artistic practice. The application says that all activities have to take place before May 31st, 2021. But if your project starts before then and might not quite be finished until after then, that's okay. So now I'm going to go into more detail about the mini grants to professional artists. And I want to emphasize that artists at any stage of their career working in any discipline are eligible, whether you're an emerging artist, a mid-career artist, or a very established artist, whether you're a writer, a painter, a dancer, a circus artist. I think later in the application form, we spell out a lot of disciplinary areas, but really, you know, if you want to make a radio show or a podcast, all of those things are also eligible. It's really to support your development, what you want to do. And here we've given you a list of things that, you know, you might take up: creative activities, things that will help you make a transition in response to COVID-19 pandemic conditions. Some people have talked to us about online seminars or workshops they've wanted to take but haven't had enough money to do. And as I said before, while the project can include a culminating work of art, something that you're going to present to the public, it is not a requirement of the program, just that you complete the work plan that you apply with. And here we have, you know, this is our list in highlighted in pink here, of trying to think of all of the things an artist might want to do, whether it's research and develop a new work, complete or adapt an existing work, advance or complete a work in progress. So some people may have a play that's in progress and they want to have a chance to do some readings of the plays just to push it along a little bit further. Maybe that's intended to bring it to the stage it needs to be to apply for an OAC grant. Or maybe it's the very last step that you want to do before a public presentation. Anything that will advance your work or advance your practice is eligible. We would, though, encourage you, and the jury will look at whether or not what you can do can be accomplished in the next 3 months. I wanted to also talk a little bit about materials. So in the past, the materials component of Artsweek grants have been limited to materials that have a shelf life or are ephemeral and will be used up in the process of the particular project. We suspect that some people may want to apply for capital costs to buy technical equipment, and we will leave some room for that. We'd ask artists to keep in mind that cost will become a factor. We want to leave some room for you to actually be able to do your project. We would think about things like, if you just want to apply for a light ring to improve your Zoom calls, the jury probably won't make that a high priority. If you wanted to apply for technical equipment that you could share with other artists or that would help you engage other artists in your project, that would be probably looked on better by the jury. So you can use the materials piece of the funding for capital purchases. And I think we talked about professional development activities or learning opportunities. The one really important thing that we can't leave out, and we'll probably do another workshop on this, is that all activities must comply with current COVID-19 health and safety guidelines. So we have done professional development workshops on those guidelines before. We'll do it again. And Gabe will probably play a really strong role in helping set up the circumstances to ensure that those regulations are doable and that we can keep everybody safe and well while we're doing outdoor projects. We're kind of suspicious that indoor projects probably won't be doable, or at least only with a very few people during this time frame. If your proposal includes working with other artists, artist fees must be paid. Thanks, Gabe. Some people talked to us about other sources of funding they had in mind for their projects. Through foundations or private donors or, you know, the DBIA. If your project is selected as an Artsweek SHIFT² project, we will help you go to other funders and get money. So if you need to make applications, we'll write letters of support and we'll support you in any grant writing that you have to do. So the criteria, the eligibility criteria, that's the hurdle that you have to jump over to get into the program, is pretty thin and pretty straightforward. And it's the same one that pretty much every funder in the country would use. You have to be a Canadian citizen or permanent resident. You have to be a resident of the city or county of Peterborough. And county is there in pink because I think the form says city, but it can include people from the county, and we'll put out some information on that. And you have to be a professional artist. So everybody says, well, what's a professional artist? So Gabe, can we pop down to that slide for a second? This is a definition that's, again, used by many funders across the country because it's really hard to describe in any clinical terms what a professional artist is. So typically funders look for people who have developed skills through training and practice. They're recognized by other artists in their field. And they have a history of public exhibition, some kind of payment for their work, and they actively practice their art. Brianna, I'm going to come back to your question at the end. It's about capital expenses. And you have to be 18 years of age or over. Okay. So we'll put together a peer assessment committee, probably 5 people. They will review all of the applications and all of the support material in advance. They'll be asked to rank the proposals. They'll meet collectively through Zoom, of course, right now. And through a process of discussion and assessment and review, they will rank the proposals and then make a recommendation for who should get funded and how much funding they should get. And that final piece is approved by the EC3 Board of Directors. And there you can see what the basic assessment criteria will be. And every single person who applies, we will ask every jury member to rank the proposal, the work plan, the application on the basis of these criteria: the quality and clarity of the artist's statement, artistic merit of the project, proposal, and the value for the artist's practice. So I wanted to talk for a couple minutes about that one. I think when you make your application, you want to spend some time and just picture that jury in your head. They don't know you necessarily. And talk to them. We didn't put any word limits on. You can write as much or as little as you want about why doing what you want to do is going to advance your practice and support your work as an artist. And is it feasible what you're trying to do for $1,500? Do you have a history of producing artwork and carrying out what you say you will do when you propose it? Yes, Roz, there is somewhere in the form to put a budget. There's a budget form. I've never done one of these by Zoom before. It's kind of creepy. Component 2, project production and presentation grants. So again, these are the more traditional Artsweek type of grants. So imagine that we're trying to imagine a festival that might by April be able to have some outdoor components, some online components. Pretty unlikely there will be much indoors except very small gatherings, but anywhere outdoors is a pretty broad sweep. And when you think about the things that Fourth Line has done during the summer, that PE did in the fall, if the total lockdown lifts, we've actually got quite a lot of room to do innovative things. And we'd really encourage people to think about making their projects happen anywhere in the city, not just in the downtown. Previous Arts Weeks have included big projects in Jackson Park, at the zoo, at the Canoe Museum, in Millennium Park, on the shores of Little Lake, on the London Street Bridge. And EC3 will be responsible for anything that you need in terms of permits from the city to be in any of those places. That'll be one of our contributions to the production process. And our insurance, as far as we know, and we'll advise people if there's any change in this, our insurance will cover you for any of those projects. Yes, Brianna, you can apply for both components. And here's some great examples of projects that have taken place in the past. You can see that the first one there, right in the center, is a big poetry reading that happened behind the theater on King. And I think we had audiences of between 38 and 43 at those different events. But because it was in that parking lot, we were able to space people out and be quite safe. And we had an entrance and an exit system, and it worked really well. The one on the left is a project that was completely virtual and unfolded on social media and on e-media in Kawartha Now. It was really fantastic. It was a photography project by Julie Gagne that Sarah McNeely curated, and it involved 17 photographs with 20 artists talking about what was happening to them during the pandemic, and we had little biographies of them as well. Okay, thanks, Gabe. Those are live ones. You can also do things that aren't live and in person, and certainly people have been doing things on Instagram, on Twitter, on Zoom. You can see Public Energy created a place on its website to show old videos, but we also wanted to remind you of cool things like broadcast and narrowcast. You could do a podcast, you can do live streaming, and you can do things on websites. So here's the panorama of disciplinary areas that we could think of. If you read this one and don't see the discipline or the area you want to work in there, please ask me a question in the chat room and I'll try to answer it. And again, all professional artists are eligible, whether you're emerging or established. But the thing that makes Artsweek, makes this component different is that collectives can apply, ad hoc groups can apply, big arts and culture organizations in the city or the county can propose projects. The project can include the work of one artist or several artists. And we really encourage partnerships and collaborations with other community organizations. And I have to be honest, that's been some of our most successful and interesting projects in the past, where artists collaborate with different community-based groups. So the last sentence here says, applicants are invited to submit ideas for art interventions that transform and activate city spaces, both real and virtual. So part of the idea of the festival component of Artsweek SHIFT² is to engage audiences, to shine a light on the incredible talent that we have here in Peterborough, and to help build audiences and to help move beyond the audiences that are familiar and comfortable with our iconic cultural institutions like the Market Hall, Showplace, or the Art Gallery. So the more things that we can do outside of the traditional context, the more new audiences we can build. And that's a win-win for everybody. Thanks, Gabe. So a number of people were asking us, given that there's no frame for this festival, no 10-day frame, we wanted to be really clear that these can be pop-ups, one-time events, things with short run. You can have a continuous project that runs for 3 months. Anything like that is eligible. And again, artist fees must be paid. I'm going to say a little something about that. Sometimes people ask us, how do I determine artist fees? So we would encourage people to go to the service organizations for the area that you're working in, whether it's writing or visual arts or media arts. They will all have a schedule of fees. And also you can seek out help from some of the established organizations that do this kind of thing all the time. Theater on King, Public Energy can help you with that. We don't require that scale be paid because sometimes that will make things too difficult for a project to happen, but you have to come to an agreement with the artist, and the artist has to be paid. Again, if your project is going to start at the beginning of May and it might not quite finish until the first week or two of June, that's okay. But our goal is to wrap up at the end of May. And you might ask why. It's because we have so much else on our plates in terms of getting ready for the next Arts Awards and the next Arts Week that we were worried that we wouldn't be able to provide good marketing, communications, and production support after that date. Inclusion, racial equity, and cultural diversity are very important to EC3 and to Artsweek. So we really want to encourage projects from any communities that are marginalized or underrepresented, and to individual artists who identify as being from BIPOC backgrounds. Thanks, Gabe. The total amount available for any project is $3,000. Again, you can seek out other funding sources to help contribute to the full cost of your projects. A number of the service organizations, particularly the national service organizations like the Writers Trust, and there are a number of others, have some ongoing programs of support to artists during COVID-19. The OAC is going to announce $1 million program of support to individual artists soon, and we understand that they're going to try to move that money out the door really fast. So that's another possibility. And a proviso for you to remember, all Artsweek Shift2 events must be free to the public. Everything has to be free. Normally during the festival, we have volunteers and staff who go around and take donations, which contribute to Artsweek. Normally the money goes to Artsweek to help build our budget and offset costs. But for Artsweek Shift2, you can take the donations, or your organizations. It'll be the same peer assessment committee adjudicating both components of the program, and will follow exactly the same process as I outlined for component 1. The jury will review all the applications and support material. We'll meet together via Zoom and review everything again. The projects will be ranked. Then we'll tell them the amount of money available, and then they will determine the funding level for each project. Everybody will be assessed on each of these criteria. It's pretty clinical with a number and spreadsheets. I see Esther has a question. In Artsweek Shift2, Esther, no, the development of a project isn't eligible. We want to see a finished project. But you could certainly apply for what you want to do in component 1. And Angela, the donations can go to you or your organization. You'll be able to find these PowerPoint slides on our website. Okay, thanks, Gabe. I think we can go on. And again, inclusion and accessibility, these are things the jury will take into consideration in making their final decisions. And we will be working with a number of organizations in the city to ensure that our outreach in terms of application to this program goes beyond our normal circle. Although our normal circle is pretty big, our bulletin goes to, I think, 1,500 people. If you need any help, please don't be shy. Gabe and I live to help artists make applications and to give you a better chance to be successful in a competition. So please just email us, phone us. We're always happy to talk to you. No question is too small. So to find the material that you need to make an application, go to the Artsweek SHIFT website. So if you go to the Artsweek website, you'll see the big Shift2 button. You can hit that. You'll find the call for proposals, the guidelines, and the application forms. The application form is as a fillable PDF. We stayed with a fillable PDF because so many people have told us they find the portals really overwhelming and difficult. You can complete the application on the PDF and provide the supplementary documents, and then you email the whole kit and caboodle to info@artsweek@gmail.com. Then we have some tips and tricks that we always remind people about. We'll give you some specific things for Artsweek SHIFT². Gabe, can you talk a little bit, maybe you could do this part about the examples of documenting your previous work?
For sure. Yeah. So we are asking for people to provide examples. With audio and video clips, they tend to be pretty big. So if you can send us a link, like if you upload it to YouTube or Vimeo, or if you give us a drive link, then that works for us too. Other than that, you can just, for other smaller files like images or documents, you can just attach them to the email along with your application. There's space on the application form for you to list what is the examples that you're providing, and if there's an issue, how to get to them. Yeah.
Thanks.
And and if you're having any issues with uploading files or with sending us things, again, just send us an email. We're pretty flexible as long as we can figure out a way to find it. If it's doing a WeTransfer or if it's finding a shared Google Drive or whatever, we'll figure out a way to make it work.
EC3 really wants you to succeed in this program, so we'll do everything we can to make that possible. Okay, slide number 29. We provide in the application form a checklist, and I always suggest to people in any grant writing, and most funders do provide a checklist, look at that checklist first, especially for component 2, because sometimes getting your support material together can take a really long time. Do that first. And here is the schedule of deadlines. So February 22 has got the big red flag on it. That's when you need to hand in your application. We won't be able to accept late applications. If results are for any reason going to be later than March 8, we will notify everybody who applied. Okay, slide 31. This is just some general tips and tricks. These come out of a number of workshops that we've done for different artists over the years. And you'll recognize a wonderful, wonderful piece here by Sue Lily Dixon that was part of Postcode Tour. Hope you don't mind, Sue. Check the deadline. Start early, start earlier, start right now. There she is in Millennium Park. And I think this is one of Bethany's pieces. Bethany LeBlanc right there. Read all the guidelines. And this is Kate's story saying, even though it's wordy and boring, make yourself read through everything so you really know what the expectations of the program are. It kind of gets into your head, and that really helps you write the grant application. Yep, this is Wendy Trussler's heliotrope, which she created sitting for days and days outside of the Silver Bean Cafe during one of the Arts Weeks. Read the question carefully and be specific. And this is a fantastic dance piece that took place in the Peterborough Square Mall. It was developed by Kate Story and Ryan Kerr. And Sarah McNeely, who am I looking at here?
I believe that Jen Cole and Bennett?
I think so, and Bennett Badukian. It was a brilliant piece, really like first class piece. So always write your application chunks away from the form. So just do it all up on a Word document first, edit, do spell check, make sure you feel really good about what you have, and then drop it in the PDF. Because sometimes PDF forms are sensitive and they get cranky, and you'll get cranky. So always write till you think you have a perfect draft, and then drop it into the application form. And I'd say that's a great approach to any kind of grant application you're doing. We do take the word count seriously, so pay attention to them. It's really important, just because technology is what it is, that we recommend that when you're done, print the application form and save it somewhere. Be clear and concise. Avoid jargon and art speak. I think sometimes people feel because they're applying to an arts council, they have to use theoretical language or talk in graduate school speak, and you really don't. Juries, even the most demanding and sophisticated ones, really like your project proposals to be straightforward. That's a reading during Artsweek SHIFT². Okay, thanks, Gabe. This is Muriel Mountain playing as part of Porchapalooza in 2016. So don't be shy to get help. Ask a friend to look over your proposal. Ask your mother to look over your proposal, or your partner to look over your proposal. Get feedback. If they don't understand something you're saying, you might want to take a second look and rewrite it. Spelling matters. Sometimes juries will really get tired if they see spelling mistakes over and over. We don't expect all artists to be first-rate writers, so get somebody to help you if you don't think you are a first-rate writer. Absolutely get someone else to proofread and double check the checklist. As all of you know, once you've written something and gone over it, sometimes you don't see the mistakes anymore. So see if you can get someone else to take a look at it for you. And yeah, that's a beautiful sculpture that Let Architects did, reaching out over Jackson Creek. That's yeah, 2015, a long time ago. Try not to be afraid of the budget. A lot of people get nervous about budgets. We're certainly happy to help you with your budget, but be precise. Show your work. If you're applying to bring 3 people into your project and it's going to cost $700 for each of them, go 3 times 700 and show exactly why you're asking for that $2,100. Be honest, be forthright. The applications are being reviewed by your peers, and nobody is more demanding or can see through fudging than another artist. Don't pad your budget. Don't make claims or promises that you can't fulfill. And really think about how much time and how much resources you're actually going to need, and document it. Don't underestimate it either. This is Opal and the Circus Gang with the Flying Canoe at the Canoe Museum. They're actually hung from the ceiling in the Canoe Museum in 2018. So double check at the very end that you've captured everything that the application asks for. Make sure your budget balances. Does your budget match your narrative? So if you've described a project that's going to have certain components in it, make sure those are all reflected in your budget, and vice versa. Make sure you've used the checklist. Actually tick it off. It helps. And is the information that you're providing about yourself or your project up to date? Make sure it is. This is John Kleimenhag at his most recent project. So when it says ensure you have a clear plan for compliance with COVID-19 public health guidelines for your project or event, we'll send the current guidelines to you with the letter saying that you've had a project approved. Now, these can change. So we're going to be in touch. Gabe will be coordinating that and helping you figure out exactly what you need to do to comply, and helping us all be creative in doing that and making sure everybody is safe, but that the show can still go on. This is Lester's fabulous projection from inside the library, which you could see from across the road in the Lockington Lawless Fitzpatrick parking lot. Make sure you're applying for the right component. Remember, component 1 is a grant to an individual artist to allow you to pursue any work plan or plan of activities that you think will advance your work and advance your practice from where it is now to where you would like it to be. And it can involve a huge variety of activities and include subsistence just to buy you time to make, redevelop, or develop your work.
I'd also just like to note in this, the PDF has both application forms on it. They are labeled, so be sure that you're using the right form when you're using the PDF. And the application forms are slightly different because the requirements are different. So yeah, just double check that one.
So Angela, I'm going to quickly answer your question about can we have a call with you or can you look at our application form? Typically, we won't review an application form before the submission, but you can certainly talk to us about any questions you have or concerns you have, or just anything that's on your mind. You can call and we'll try to help support you sort that out and make a stronger application. So here's the technical information you need. This is who you need to write to. If you're deaf or hard of hearing, we can assist with your application. We'll make special accommodation and get support for that. We're here to help. And these are some of the backyard readings that happened as part of Artsweek SHIFT². I think that's Justin Million on the right, Ziza beside the tree, and John Hendrick beside Ziza. Am I done? I am. Do you have more questions? There was a question about capital equipment earlier on that I didn't answer. In answer to your question, Brianna, yes, I think possibly it would, you know, really, I think the jury will look at what the workshops are like, what equipment you currently have, who's going to benefit from them, the content, but it's not out of the question that the equipment would be eligible. And for the most part, we will let the jury make those decisions.
So is that in response to Naomi's question? Can one artist apply with multiple projects?
Oh, no, that was in response to Brianna's Gosselin about capital. Sorry,
Okay, so
Naomi.
Brianna Gosselin's question, just for anyone who wasn't able to read it, when it comes to capital purchases with equipment needed to bring art workshops and classes online, can provide workshops for all to learn and enjoy from.
Yeah,
and
that's
then,
the one I just answered.
Yeah, and then Naomi's question is, can one artist apply with multiple projects, i.e. one solo project and then another where you're collaborating with someone?
You can apply once in each component. Does that answer your question? Anybody else have a question? You can put your hand up and ask it out loud if you want. Put your thumb up or wave. That's in a bar at the bottom under reactions.
And again, we are available for questions after this. If you contact the email, we will be keeping an eye on that. So Esther Vincent asks, do organizations have to be registered not-for-profit or ad hoc groups okay?
Ad hoc groups, collectives are all eligible. good question. Shelley, do you have any questions?
No, that was great. You told me everything that I hoped to find out.
Good.
Thanks,
Said,
Sue.
how about you?
I have no questions at the moment.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Well, good luck to everybody. I really look forward to seeing your applications. And again, don't hesitate to get in touch with us about anything. That's the fun part of our job. Most of it's awful.
Oh, we received one more question from Wes Ryan. Oops.
Yes, what's
Uh,
Wes asking?
Just a sec. Is a proposal in multiple locations allowed?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Okie dokie. Well, thank you all so much for coming. Best of luck. Adios.
Thanks very much.
Okay, we're signing off, Gabe. Till the next one.
We are.
Bye.